Welcome to the Nut Gallery Review podcast. We bring you the news on the media that shapes your world.
Welcome to episode 187. I'm Jason Schulte.
I'm Sean McFadden.
I'm Mike Anstead.
Eric, we lost you.
I was on mute. I'm Eric Anderson. Sorry.
All right. We're all here.
We are.
My opening topic was there's been some rumors surfacing again that Kill Bill 3 might be back on the table. It is potential to be Tarantino's last film, as he has stated over and over again. He's only doing 10 films. Uma Thurman has said that it is a ways off, but it has indeed been talked about. So my questions from this is, should a Kill Bill 3 be made, and should it be Tarantino's final act?
I think deciding that you're going to only do a set number of movies before you even do them is ludicrous, but we all know that he is a little ludicrous. I would personally like them to not do Kill Bill 3 because I love Kill Bill and I would rather them leave it the way it is.
Go ahead, Eric.
I would be interested to see what they would want to do. I would be very sad if that truly was his final directorial performance. But it would be interesting to see where they go with it. I do think that Kill Bill is a fantastic story, and I agree with Sean that it's really cool, but I think they could do something interesting with it. So yeah, I'd like to see it, but I definitely wish it wouldn't be his swan song per se.
Mike, do you have an opinion?
My biggest thing about doing a sequel for a movie that at this point back in 2004, I do think that Tarantino has his chops. Obviously he's great, but at the end of the day, like, it's so hard to navigate and manipulate a sequel story for this was almost 20 years ago. So I don't know, like, I haven't talked to you guys in a long time, so I did not like Matrix Resurrections, and that is kind of my case in point there. Like, maybe Kill Bill 3 is not the best way to go just because of how long ago it was. Unfortunately,
though, Matrix was on a downhill slide before this one, so
true, but even still, that is, and I've talked about this at length. Every single sequel should be taken to heart and taken as seriously as the Halloween 2018 reboot. That was a sequel that was well in advance, in years after the previous iteration, and it did it flawlessly, in my opinion. So it's going to be hard, I think.
The only reason I think that he might want to come revisit it is because of one of the lines the bride says, and it's to the little girl that walks in after she just gets done with her mom, like, grow up. If you still feel this way, when you grow up, come find me. And that could be the only reason I think that he'd want to come back to revisit that, to show that. But man, Kill Bill was a good series or movie, depending on how you look at it, but making a third one just feels, I don't know, disingenuous, maybe.
Well, I've seen it referred to as a kind of the safe path, because he already has an established movie that people are going to go to, and it's easy material for him to create. So I've heard critics and fans say we'd like something original if it's going to be your swan song per se, but I will take whatever I can get. So if this is what he's willing to do, then I guess that's what I'm going to have to take.
He's your favorite director of all time, right?
He's up there.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know that there's many directors that can pull dialogue off to the level he can. But All right, we'll move on to our movie classic, which Eric, you can introduce since it was your pick.
Sure.
I would say, do we need some drum roll on this? It's very first, movie classic pick here. A little. Oh God, and my camera goes.
As your camera starts shaking. Real Genius, 1985. Val Kilmer is a genius in college, and the government is trying to use scientific knowledge, specifically college scientists, to make a powerful weapon for the military to do bad things. And it's the creation of and then undoing of their creation, sort of, kind of. Yeah, part comedy, part weird spy thing. It's goofy, it's fun. I guess since it's my movie, should I go first? Should I let everyone else go first and I'll go last?
It's your movie. You do it how you like.
Okay, I'll weigh in last. I'll let other people go first. Sean, you said you had not seen this before. Is that correct?
That is correct. This was my very first viewing.
Ditto.
Oh, okay, cool. Two
Yeah.
people with the
Me as
first
well.
viewing. No
Oh.
way. I was the only one who knew of this?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, then I have to hear you guys first, and then I'll go. So, Sean, why don't you go first?
Okay, so this was my very first viewing. First off, Val Kilmer's a baby. And I was like, oh, okay. I did keep track. We had three montages in this movie. I was like,
That's an
whoa.
80s movie too.
I'm like, if we needed to put the 80s stamp on a movie, they're like, we have a montage. All right, but do you have two montages? Yeah. Can I get a third? So very, very 80s. Though for the most part that works for the movie. And is kind of, it's part of its charm. I was not sure going in how I was going to feel about this movie. And that stayed with me, I want to say, for the first half an hour. That I wasn't sure which way I was going to go on this, because the Val Kilmer character, Prince, I believe his last name is
Chris Knight.
Chris Knight.
I was in the neighborhood. He's very, very eccentric, which evidently is, now kind of a trademark of Val Kilmer's career. And I was like, okay, is he going to be kind of the eccentric kooky that, we kind of, we really kind of eventually fall in love with, a la like Van Wilder? Or is this just going to be eccentric for the sake of being eccentric? And fortunately, it did fall into the, we kind of learned to at least root for the character and want them to do well. The new genius, the 15-year-old brought in there, provided
Mitch
a nice
Taylor.
Yes, provided a nice kind of counterbalance to him. And my personal favorite parts of the movie were actually when the two of them saw eye to eye and worked together on a project, because they're two genius. I thought complemented each other when they were working together towards a problem. Although my fiance and I watching this movie, our favorite character is one that really doesn't share a lot of screen time until about 3/4 of the way through the movie. And it's the guy who lives in the closet, who just kind of walks through and you're like, wait, what? Him just kind of like
Jethro? Laszlo Holyfield.
There we go.
Yeah. And small spoilers, you find out that basically he was a genius before, then kind of burnt out and kind of evidently just made the college his home. But yeah, that his interactions, I wish they would have done a little bit of screen time to actually show like his little living area that they have there, because you see kind of a far away shot of it and you see a really close shot of him like working on computer, and you don't see anything else. I wish that was the one shot they did. Overall though, I'd say I enjoyed this movie. And without spoilers, I saw a snapshot of this, or a little clip of this movie some years ago on Mythbusters, because they want to test if you could use a laser to pop a lot of popcorn, which is a scene that exists in the movie. And I wanted to look it up, but yeah, that you can. It's just not really effective. But it's an 80s movie, and literally at that point, that's probably one of the more believable things that happens. Overall, I enjoyed it. It's not going to be a top pick for me anytime soon, but it was 80s quirky action fun. And if you were a bad guy in this movie, we knew it. We really knew it. And you wanted to hurt them. You really disliked them. And if you were a good guy, we were kind of like, okay, are you really? And then you kind of just like, yeah, you're not being the super awful that any of the quote unquote villains in the movie are, because there are a couple, and holy crap, did they really lay it on thick. Like the first one you see, the professor, like, just keeps yelling at a dog. Like, dude, okay, you're yelling at people, we get it, you're a douche. And then the dog comes up, and you're just like, the dog comes in on the set, like on the screen, all of like 0.5 seconds before this guy's ripping the dog apart. I'm like, okay, total prick, got it, moving on. Jay, what did you think?
I'm trending very similar to your thoughts. I didn't hate it. So as I was watching it, I kept thinking, gosh, this feels like something. Like there's something familiar with this, and I couldn't put, and I struggled for a long time to put my finger on it. So this was released August 7th of 85. July 3rd of 85, Back to the Future was released.
Okay.
And that to me, it felt like the eccentric Emmett Brown, Dr. Brown, went to college, is what the movie was, after I broke it down. So they kind of combined the college movies of that era with the eccentric Dr. Brown, Back to the Future, and they created this movie. So I think when I kind of came to terms with what I was feeling that was familiar with it, then I kind of sat back and enjoyed it a little bit more. Because there was just always something that it feels like this joke is something I should know, but I know it was the first time I had watched the movie. So
Marty,
turning the dorm into a skating rink, that was kind of funny, and him
awesome.
Laser cutting or cutting pieces of frozen ice so that he could put it in the pop machine and the vending machine, and then it would disappear. So there was no trace of his crime, really. There was just a lot of quirky elements to this. The guy coming in and out of the closet. Now, I had a different take. I don't know that I thought he lived there. I thought that was his own personal lab.
Oh, it is. That's where he lives. But that's also his whole area there. So I wanted to see more of it. That was my thing. I wanted to see what he had done to make a home down there.
And the other student that's kind of a pain in the ass, I'll just say it that way, the suck up, they put a car in
Kent.
Kent.
Yeah, Kent.
Oh.
They put a car in his room. I mean, it was just there was just those fun things. Swimming pool in the theater, so it really had some fun elements that were enjoyable. Passing the ball to you, Mike.
All right. So I'm a 90s kid. And when you think Val Kilmer, us 90s kids automatically go to Batman. Bat nipples, the whole 9 yard. So I like that Batman movie, but I hope that in the next few minutes, I'm going to make Eric smile here, because if Tombstone didn't exist, this would be Val Kilmer's best film.
That's high praise.
In my opinion, if Tombstone did not exist, I thought Val Kilmer killed it in this movie. His comedic timing is literally perfect. It is amazing. He fit the quirkiness of a nerd, but also the, for lack of a better term, sexiness of a jock, you know, that type of thing. Like Val Kilmer was spot on in this movie. And like for that matter, like most people in the movie were cast very well, and did a really good job. And so here's the second thing that I'll make Eric smile. I love this movie. Like I watched it this morning and I loved it. It was so funny. The jokes were a little bit subtle, but so impactful still, even within this 2-hour movie or so. I loved all the characters. Sean, you're right. Every single villain was written on the wall, but that's what made it so good, because each of them, because you knew what they were going to get, and you just were along the ride to figure out what they were going to get. So, I mean, Kent's got a car in his dorm room. That's literally impossible, but okay. But still, like it was a blast.
Kent,
like
you're not allowed to do that.
yeah. Even like the punchline of the whole last scene, like was built way back in the movie, where Chris was eating popcorn in front of his professor's house, and he said, "Oh, I'm gonna get that for your birthday." And basically, because the professor hates the small popcorn, and Chris Knight's like, "Oh, cool, now I know what to get you for your birthday." And
as he just throws it on the ground.
Yeah, he throws it on
porch.
the ground.
Yeah.
It's so good. And then like the Val Kilmer like switching and being like, okay, I'm going, just to spite you, I'm going to be the best student that you've ever had, and I'm going to ace everything that you will ever tell me to do. And I'm going to solve the problem. And then ultimately we all know that it comes down to them solving the bigger problem. But yeah, I love this movie. The lead lady was fun. She was really cool. I forget her name. Michelle Myrink was Jordan Cochran. She was awesome. And I thought Gabriel Jarrett as Mitch Taylor did a good job as well. So also I love Karate Kid, and I don't know if you noticed, but the main villain in Karate Kid Part 2 is in the film as well. So yeah,
That's awesome. I did not realize that.
yeah, the one where he like honks his nose at the end. Do you remember? Yeah, he's in that movie. He was just like an extra. Anyway, I love this movie. So good pick, Eric. I think it's a classic.
Before you go on, I gotta tell you my favorite line in this whole movie. And it's like the main character besides Val Kilmer, Mitch, is talking to, his girlfriend there. Like, oh, are you going to introduce me to your parents? No.
That was great.
Are you embarrassed of me? No, them. Like, yes, solid.
Yeah, it was great. Everything was awesome. I loved it.
There were some really good stuff in there. It was pretty good.
Eric, I know we haven't let you talk about your pick, but if I could just make one more quick point.
Of course.
As much as this movie is quirky and eccentric, we also all know, watching this film, that it has happened many times that a professor has stolen their students' work. And so I think in a way that made it a little more real, knowing the environment I work in, not that I'm accusing anybody there, of course, but just seeing that, this has happened. So taking all the quirkiness aside, there is kind of a real story underneath too.
But then ramping it up, and this is them wanting a laser to kill people from space.
But they've thought about that.
I mean,
yeah.
Well, now they have, because this movie's out.
Well, Ark, tell us about your pick and why you picked it.
Okay, so I remember back in the day, like this was one of the movies that I watched back in the 80s. And I did not remember some of the jokes, the subtlety in the movie. And now as an adult, I'm like, oh, hey, that's awesome there. Okay. But I do remember thinking, man, I wonder if that's what college is really like. Like I wanted to know like what college was like. I was a nerd when I was a kid, so I really identified with this movie, and I felt like, oh, it's cool to be a nerd, like, but not in the Revenge of the Nerds way, which like that was not so okay. Like this
Very
was
stereotypical. Yeah.
right, exactly. This was the it's cool. You can do cool things and be a nerd.
That's half the point of the movie.
Right, exactly. Of course, now comparing basically, we're almost 40 years later, tech has come way far, but still the movie feels techy enough based on what was, happening at the time. It's like, okay, I can still kind of somewhat identify with this. It's still okay. There was a lot of the science, which I was like, as Mike referenced, like the ice rink. I always thought that was one of the coolest thing. And now I learned that apparently it's possible for a solid to sublimate directly into a gas that like happens on other planets. Like it's a thing. It's like, oh, okay, this is actually legit science.
Yeah, super rare, but it happens. Yeah.
I also realized the professor, what he makes me think of, he's evil Neil deGrasse Tyson. He's like, he's got his own show and he's like super smart compared to everybody, but Neil deGrasse Tyson is super nice and very wants to teach people, and he's just like, compared to us, most people have the IQ of a carrot. It's like, oh, okay, I get what you are.
Can I ask you something here real quick, because you're the one who's seen this multiple times?
Yes.
I had the feeling that the professor wasn't actually as smart as the rest of his students. It felt to me like he was pretending almost for that role, and they never said anything, but it's just kind of a feeling I picked up. Is that something that you thought?
No, I actually think he was legit smart, but he was also smart and devious enough to be like, I don't have to do the work on my own. I can get other people to do it, and I can just keep making money and doing my own thing, but take advantage of others. So he's smart and he's conniving. Maybe not as smart as he thinks, but he's still pretty smart.
Okay, carry on though.
I did think it was interesting that this was back in the day when the government actually listened and utilized scientists. I feel like sometimes nowadays that science is so like, hey, this thing, the government's like, you don't know what you're talking about. It's like, wait a minute. So the good guys, Chris Knight and his group, I almost feel like they had the feeling of mad scientists, like that almost exuberant energy of like, oh, we can create the wildest things and nothing's going to stop us kind of feeling. I will say, kind of on the negative side, and this applies to a lot of movies from the 80s, even Back to the Future, could never be made today. There was a lot of stuff that, you could not have put into a movie. Underage sex references, suicide, murder. Like there was a lot of stuff that I was like, oh, that would not fly today.
Yeah.
And in fact, like that's one of the things, like I've watched it a couple times. The woman who comes in that Laszlo ends up marrying at the end, that kind of hit on
Mitch. Yeah.
Mitch. I'm like, where did she come from? Who is this? Why? What happened? And I don't feel like it ever really got explained, except for I think she wanted to hit on smart people.
Yeah, she wanted the smartest ones. Yeah.
And then the other thing is nowadays, like going back and rewatching, I'm like, man, I forgot how much I like reference this movie very subtly or quote this movie. Like there's just a lot of things that I do. I love this movie. I had not seen it in probably 10 to 15 years, and I'm really glad that I got a chance to go back and watch it again. Super, super happy. I think it's a super classic.
Well,
I want to. Go ahead, Jay.
I want to call you out on one thing though, Eric.
Okay.
It was Jason that called out the ice rink.
No.
Fair enough.
I got to call him out on something else.
Okay.
You stated that when you were a kid, you were a nerd, which implies that you're not one now.
Nerds are in now. It's cool now. I'm just
Okay,
saying. Like Iron Man. You see, like
Nerds rule the world.
That's right. So that's
Don,
my
you
thoughts.
had a point.
Yeah, it's gone now.
Okay.
But like I hear what you're saying with like the mad scientist, but like I love these 80s movies because you like Goonies is my favorite movie of all time. It's my favorite movie of all time, and I just love those movies where it centers around a group of people that come together for one cause or whatnot. And this movie does that same thing. And the blend of comedy that it has is just it's over the top, but also you know, just like those subtle comedic timing is just perfect. And then I think it's also just a really good satire on villains and just like how like they, you know, like Eric said, they don't want to do the work, and so they get a bunch of other people to do it. And also a little bit, you know, American government like is a little shady too, you know, that type of thing. So like this, I agree with you that this probably couldn't be made today, but that doesn't negate the fact that it's a great movie. So
Also, soundtrack, thumbs up. I love that.
yeah.
Fantastic job with that. I was even paying attention to the music at the beginning of the movie. I'm like, oh my gosh, they're already referencing what's going to happen in like throughout the movie. Like, wow, this is so good. So, yeah.
No, I won't fight you. I think it's a classic just for the last scene alone. If that were the only part of it, I would still get it in there. But I enjoyed it. I think it ticks all the boxes. I think I'm okay calling this one a classic. I think it's a good pick.
I'm really glad I was able to pick something you guys hadn't ever seen and share something new. So thank you.
Yeah, it's a trick.
That just means you set a high precedence for the next time.
I've been told I have very bad taste in movies, so I might let you guys down. I'm just saying.
Well, the movie I chose for next month is I'm sure all of you guys have seen.
All right, so let's move on to March movies. Probably the one that no one's ever heard of on March 4th is The Batman.
It's a little indie film.
Yeah.
Who?
The Batman.
You know. This little indie film, you know.
It is rated PG-13. From Warner Brothers Pictures comes The Batman, directed by Matt Reeves, who did the Planet of the Apes films, and stars Robert Pattinson. And really interesting, in their bumper, in their thing, they say he starred in Tenet, The Lighthouse, and Good Time. They like leave out like the biggest thing he's known for.
You know what? Let's make sure we make reference to the appropriate movies and just move on.
Yeah. Starring as Gotham City's vigilante detective, Batman, and billionaire Bruce Wayne. The other note for stars is Andy Serkis is playing Alfred Pennyworth, and Jeffrey Wright is Commissioner Gordon, and Zoe Kravitz as Selena Kyle, aka Catwoman. Peter Sarsgaard as Gotham DA, and Colin Farrell as the Penguin.
Interesting. I'm definitely going to see this because I'm curious what they're doing with it. But I am sad that they're doing more of a Batman Year One as opposed to a Batman Beyond storyline, which is what I was hoping they were doing when they cast Robert Pattinson. I really hoped. I had my fingers crossed for it, but evidently mainstream media not quite ready for a Batman Beyond mainstream.
I don't think that's ever coming to a live action, but
it would be
you
so
know,
good,
I've said that about other things.
We did Guardians, and who heard of Guardians before? Come on.
I am stoked for this film. I think that we have long awaited a darker take on the Riddler specifically. And so I'm really excited for that. And I think Robert Pattinson will do a good job. Yeah, I'm stoked, honestly. So
I'll say I am moderately interested. I really thought that the Chris Nolan Batman was just pinnacle. Like I'm a big fan of Michael Keaton. Like, I like what he did. I really enjoyed Batman from the way old days. Like, I enjoy that stuff, but I thought Christopher Nolan just did a fantastic job. And I was like, okay, I feel happy with this Batman and where it's at. I don't know that I need to see any other renditions. I'll probably see it just to see it, but I mean, I'm not as like, oh yeah, I can't wait for this. I think I actually kind of agree with Sean. I wish they really would have done that other series, that other storyline, but I think Jason's right. I don't think they're ever going to do that, sadly.
It would be so cool. Man, we had the perfect timing, perfect setup. We could have done Michael Keaton and Robert Pattinson. Anyway, I'll let that go.
No, you won't. You know you won't.
I mean, Michael Keaton comes back. So
does he?
Yeah, he's coming back in the Flash movie.
Oh, yeah.
It's coming back. I mean, you got your wish. You got half your wish. Okay.
That's like a D&D wish, though. It's not what you really
yeah,
wanted.
that's exactly it.
Stop nitpicking. You got one.
DC does handle their franchise differently. They aren't so sold on needing a storyline that they're building towards. Everyone thought Justice League was going to be that. It ended up not being that. So we have to take the pieces that we can get when we get it. And, we got Aquaman 2 coming up to, not in March, but in the future. So, I mean, they're not as well laid out. So you just get pieces of DC characters here and there. March 4th also has Tyson's Run coming out. It's PG. When 15-year-old Tyson attends public school for the first time, his life is changed forever. While helping his father clean up after the football team, Tyson befriends champion marathon runner Achilleu. Never letting his autism hold him back, Tyson becomes determined to run his first marathon in hopes of winning his father's approval. The note on this movie is autistic actor Major Dodson plays the lead role of the autistic teen. So kind of makes me smile a little bit.
That's cool.
All right.
March. I was going to say, it gave me thoughts of the Good Doctor from the TV show, the autistic doctor. I was like, okay, I'm kind of feeling that same type of vibe that but this is supposedly true story type thing, which looks cool.
I didn't know that part, but cool.
March 18th, Operation Fortune Ruse de Guerre.
I'm sorry, one more time?
You heard it right. AKA, it's a Jason Statham movie.
Oh, okay. I punch stuff and fall down. Yeah. Got it.
So, as you walk past the poster someday going into the movie theater, you're going to go, Jason Statham movie. You're not going to say the name. And it might even actually have Jason Statham in bigger, bold text than the name of the movie. Super spy Orson Fortune, played by Jason Statham, must track down and stop the sale of a deadly new weapon technology wielded by billionaire arms broker Greg Simons, played by Hugh Grant. The film was shot on location in Qatar and Turkey.
I mean, it looks interesting. I'm curious to see a little, or hear a little more about it, I guess is where I was going with that. A little head shake. Yeah.
It's a Jason Statham movie. The one thing that I will say is that, at least based on the trailer, this was more of a comedic bent on majority of his films. So I think that is a plus for it, but I probably won't be seeing this anytime soon.
To piggy that a little bit, all the Jason Statham movies that I have seen recently, and I'm going to put The Meg as a prime example, were better than I was really expecting. I was expecting Jason Statham to do Jason Statham things, and he does, but there's actually stuff going on there. So I think he's kind of found his niche, and he's riding that out.
Leaning into it.
He's leaning into it. There you go.
I've really liked his role in the Fast and Furious series that he's stepped into. So I'm kind of interested in this film just because it's the list is pretty short this month, so
Mhm.
I think we're already halfway through. March 18th, the outfit. It is R for some bloody language.
For some
Is it a British
bloody
movie?
language. For some
Yeah,
bloody
bloody
language.
Let me start that over.
Oi!
R for R for some bloody violence and language throughout. An
Liked
English
it better
tailor.
the first time.
Probably. An English tailor makes beautiful clothes for the only people around who can afford them. A family of vicious gangsters. Hence the outfit.
Yeah, no, this now just has bloody language. That's just how it's going to be now.
Bloody hell, Sean.
Bloody hell.
I think this one's going to be very, very interesting. I was not as excited about it when I first heard it, but then I was watching the trailer and I'm like, oh, this actually could be kind of cool. Like, yeah. So we'll see.
Like seeing the gangsters from the tailor's perspective.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. I love the quote that is basically the quote of the movie, which is, if all of our, if we were waiting for our customers to be angels, we wouldn't be in business. It's like, oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ain't that life?
March 18th, the Unbreakable Boy. PG. A boy who has both a rare brittle bone disease and autism. But what makes Austin truly unique is his joyous, funny, life-affirming worldview that transforms and unites everyone around him. The boy's father changes his life as he comes to see Austin not as a symbol of something broken, but the triumph of an indestructible spirit. It is based on the book The Unbreakable Boy by Scott M. Lorette and Susie Flory.
So
I watched 3 trailers. All 3 were for the book. None of them for the movie.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I couldn't find a trailer.
I couldn't find one either. But I will say this though, it seems like we've got some heartwarming movies coming out. But yes, I couldn't find it either, and I wasn't going to say anything, so thank you.
I'm sorry, I had to.
I'm literally
indie.
I'm literally sitting here before we're recording. Eric and Jason are just sitting there. I'm watching trailers. I'm like, I'm not seeing anything, but I didn't.
Well, I may have been misinformed.
No,
We'll
I
see.
think it's coming out. It's just
they're just their word of mouth programming.
Yeah.
All right, and finally, and this is the one I had to double check because I thought, wait, did I screw this up? Because I thought it was Uncharted at first, but it's called The Lost City on March 25th. Brilliant and this is long. I could not find a way to shorten this. I tried and tried. Brilliant but reclusive author Loretta Sage, played by Sandra Bullock, has spent her career writing about exotic places in her popular romance adventure novels featuring handsome cover model Alan Channing Tatum, who has dedicated his life to embodying the hero character Dash. While on tour promoting her new book with Alan, Loretta is kidnapped by an eccentric billionaire, Daniel Radcliffe, who hopes that she can lead him to an ancient lost city's treasure from her latest story. Wanting to prove that he can be the hero in real life and not just on the pages of her books, Ellen sets off to rescue her. Thrust into an epic jungle adventure, the unlikely pair will need to work together to survive the elements and find the ancient treasure before it's lost forever.
I love the ludicrous premise of this. It's ludicrous. It's nuts. And I'm like, all right, okay, yeah, let's see where this goes. Come on. I will go see this movie just because of that kind of like, oh, we're not doing the quote unquote cookie cutter. It's just, you know what? Let's throw a couple ideas together. What the hell? Let's just see if this works. And I want to support that.
It kind of go ahead.
I was gonna say I am super excited for this. I knew nothing about it going into the watching the trailer, and then I watched it. I'm like, oh my god, it's like Indiana Jones and National Treasure had a baby, and it's comedic. It's amazing. Like this is fantastic. I'm really excited to see what Channing Tatum does with this. Like he's got some comedic chops that I was not expecting, and I'm super excited for this. Like I definitely want to see this one.
Mike, do you have an opinion or?
I will definitely watch it, but I will wait until it hits a streaming service.
I'm wondering if Channing Tatum has somewhat gotten typecast a little bit here, because the 21 and 22 Jump Streets, it's kind of a similar role where he's kind of the goofball cop, but also wanting to be just taken just enough serious. Which I've started to appreciate him because of those movies. I just watched those recently, and I thought they were way better than I could have expected. So I'm hoping that he does something similar here.
Yeah, those movies are fun.
So that's the end of the list. I think for me, Batman is my top pick, and then if I can see the Jason Statham movie, I will. If not, I won't.
What was the all right, so we'll go your way. My top pick is the last one we were just talking about here with Mr. Magic Mike himself. And then we'll backtrack a little bit and we'll go Robert Pattinson, and then we'll follow that up with Jason Statham.
I'll say my pick is going to be the last one there, The Lost City. I'm really interested in that one. And my dark horse is going to be the outfit. I think that's actually going to be pretty cool. I'm a little interested in that one. So,
Mr. Mike?
The Batman.
Just the Batman. That's fair.
Just the Batman. Yeah, and for theater purposes, that's where I will see it. I think probably The Lost City is definitely a definite watch once it hits streaming, and then probably Jason Statham's film. But I do like the premise of the outfit, because it kind of has this like Kingsman type deal to it, but a little more like gangster, and I like gangster movies. So
then I like Kingsman movies. So yeah.
So you might not have picked it up, but there was just a huge whoop. They just canceled school for tomorrow.
Yeah.
That's what my phone call was.
I got that email.
Well, I heard my son go, Yahoo!
Video games all day.
It means I get to work from home tomorrow.
Yeah.
Well, Sean, home videos.
So there's not a lot. I'm just going to tell you, there's you're going to have to sift through this month here. Couple gems, but not a whole lot. Anyway, week of March 1st, we've got Belfast. Family in Ireland trying to endure the struggles around them in 1949. Time of troubles, all of that there. We also have The Pilot, A Battle for Survival. A pilot is shot down behind Nazi lines and tries to survive. And if you watch the trailer for this, it's just a whole bunch of shots of him flying around in his plane. It's really kind of crazy. Week of March 8th, The Matrix Resurrections, which at this point, I think most of us that wanted to watch it have watched it. Yes, no, maybe. Mike had opinions.
Sadly.
So hands up if you have seen it. Okay, so just Mike and I. Okay.
That movie's coming out in 2022. Mike and I.
Well, I mean, did you want to talk about it real quick, Mike?
I think it's pretty spoiler heavy, like throughout the whole movie. But
that's fair. I will just say this.
I did not like it. I did not like it. I will say that the original Matrix should have been the only Matrix.
He doesn't like it, yeah. Mikey M.
I will say this without spoilers. The one thing that really I missed was the action of the very first one, because I was like, are they in like slow mo here?
You are speaking so many of my languages right now.
it was just like the fight scenes. It was like they kind of forgot to choreograph them properly, and it was not the tight, like quick, frantic combat that we associated with the Matrix. It was like, oh, did Keanu, take time aside to teach these guys some kung fu? Is that what's going on? Um,
no,
but
no, he didn't.
there were a couple of good lines, but yeah, overall, this kind of it didn't leave a great taste in the mouth.
Yeah.
So anyway, what we've got next? Oh, go ahead.
When you hear a main character, one of the people in the movie, in an interview say, "I'm not really sure why we made this film," while cashing their paycheck, you're like, why did you make the film then if you don't believe in it that much?
Yeah, it had its moments, and I will say this: it had a good, strong opening and premise and hook. I liked that part of the movie. I think they had a really good setup that, had they continued to deliver at that same level, I think it would have been a good movie. I don't think it would have been a fantastic movie, but it would have been a good movie. This one is just like okay, I watched it. It exists. But anyway, we'll move on. Another one I'm not sure why they made, Coming to America, the sequel of Coming to America, T.O. Then following this, American Siege. And I have to put this out here. I may get a little flack for it, but Bruce Willis phones it in as the local sheriff. That's what I wrote down for this one, because it doesn't even look like he cares in the trailer. And yeah, if you look at any reviews for this, it's getting like 3s out of 10s. People did not like this. So yeah, he's been phoning in, I think, for his last couple, and he continues to do so. We also have Silent Night, which I remember us talking about here. Family and friends that throw an Armageddon party. Essentially, they're about to get bombed with gas the next morning, so they're throwing kind of a party to celebrate their life and everything. Week of March 15th, Red Rocket. Former adult film star returns back home and moves in with his estranged wife to try to restart. We have Project Gemini, which I may be a little salty this month. I don't know why, but I put down in my notes here, someone wanted to make their own Alien movie. That's what this is. It's someone just wanted to make their own Alien movie, and they had a little bit of budget to do so. We have got the week of March 22nd, Nightmare Alley, starring Bradley Cooper and Cate Blanchett, a game of romance and manipulation.
I have to ask real quick, Sean.
Sure.
Is it a bad thing that somebody wanted to make an Alien movie?
See, here's the thing, Jay, is I am a big Alien fan. And so, no, it's not a bad thing. But I've seen enough bad Alien movies that it kind of it makes me distance myself initially. So if they manage to knock it out of the park, then fantastic. I will happily support them. But I'm sitting there watching the trailer for this, and I'm just like, no, this person saw Alien and Aliens and decided I'm going to make an Alien movie myself. Let's see here. We were at Dr. Death, the story of Dr. Christopher Dunch, which I may be mispronouncing that last name, whose patients end up maimed or dead. This is based on real life events. And finishing off the month, the week of March 29th, we've got Sing 2, which, music galore. They're singing animals dancing around. And that, believe it or not, is our home media options.
Nice.
So out of that, honestly, like I don't know that I'd actually want to. You know what? I'd watch Nightmare Alley. I would watch that. Other than that, I think I'd take a pass on pretty much everything else.
Mike, did you have a couple other ones you wanted to mention?
You
were talking before the show.
I will get back to you. I forgot.
Knives
Sorry.
Out 2?
Well, Knives Out 2, I think, might be this month,
Oh, okay.
which is, as of this recording, February.
Okay.
But still, yeah.
Okay.
Anyways,
Well, then let's
we
move
did
on
talk
to
about
video.
that last month. Yeah.
Mhm.
Then let's go to video games.
Let's do it. So, as usual, Jason will have like the full list, but I'm just going to do the highlights. So we're going to go with first one here is Puzzle Quest 3 coming to the
Ooh.
PC, iOS, and Android. I know Puzzle Quest is a pretty highly played game, so I wanted to mention that the third iteration.
Half of
coming
this
up.
podcast has played it.
Yeah, so March 1st, Puzzle Quest 3 comes out. Shadow Warrior 3 for the PS4, Xbox One, and PC comes out on March 1st. This was actually delayed from summer of 2022. So delays are to be expected nowadays. Not a lot of companies want to do that cyberpunk stuff again. So Babylon's Fall, which is a PlayStation exclusive and PC as well, comes March 3rd. Not a lot of people are hype on this with the preview coverage. Hasn't really been advertised well, but it's technically a big exclusive release for PlayStation. So Gran Turismo 7 comes out for the PlayStation 5, PlayStation
Really?
4, March
Jeez.
4th. So yeah, they recently did a small mini like presentation on Gran Turismo 7 and it went well. A lot of people were saying that really excited for the game. So
I wonder if I could even play Gran Turismo anymore. I think the last time I played was 4. So I don't know.
yeah.
Anyway,
I look at the Gran Turismo series and I'm like, I feel like it's like Dynasty Warriors. Like, oh yeah, I remember when I played 3. Oh yeah, they're on 9. Wait, what? What just happened?
To their credit, though, they don't release them unless they're confident they're ready to be released. I mean,
Yeah.
they take their time between games. It's
Absolutely.
not like they crank them out every year. I mean, you said they were on 8 and it's been going since the
7.
90s. 7. It's been
Seven.
going since the
Mhm.
90s. So I guess.
Well, it's so hard to churn out simulation stuff like that is of the highest quality, as in Gran Turismo as well as the Forza series. I mean, sports titles they claim that they're highest quality simulation, but everybody hates them in their year releases. So maybe take a year off, bros. Come on.
well, I will. As Jay said, though, the level of detail and polish that they put on a Gran Turismo game before it's released. I mean, you're not, when you go and you pick up a Gran Turismo, that you take it home, you start playing it. It's Gran Turismo the way they wanted it. It's not, going to Bethesda you and have your car suddenly fly off the track.
Hey man, but isn't that part of the charm of Bethesda games?
I feel like, if Bethesda was in charge of a racing game, I'd have to fight Alduin in the midway race.
I want to play this game.
You want to play Gran Turismo or a Bethesda game?
I think he wants to play.
Gonna have to get an Xbox if you want to play now.
7.
I think he wants
Grand Skyrim.
Yeah,
Grand
you'll
Skyrim.
Need
There
to
you
get
go.
need to get an Xbox if you want to play any Bethesda games. Okay. Triangle Strategy comes out for the Switch March 4th. Triangle Strategy is kind of got that Octopath Traveler art style. I don't know if you've heard of that, but it's also a strategy game that is basically like Fire Emblem. I don't know if you've played Fire Emblem, where they have like the 3 factions that one's weak, one's strong against the other and stuff like that. It makes a triangle and it's strategic. So yeah, definitely check that out. All right. We're gonna skip a little bit to March 11th. WWE 2K22 comes out for all the things except Switch.
And hopefully they've got the kinks worked out this time.
Hopefully.
I was going to say, speaking of games that they churn out on a yearly basis.
Exactly.
Well,
Dude, they took a lot of flack last time.
WWE did take a year or 2 off. So I'm hoping that they brought it back in style here.
that we don't get the little midget wrestlers again.
Yeah. And the opposite side of the spectrum, speaking of a game that came out in 2013 that's getting another release, Grand Theft Auto 5, the next gen version, is coming out on March 15th. So, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I guess if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
It's not broke. Then they get.
Isn't it more if it isn't broke, you don't have to make a new one?
At least in their case.
Look at Destiny.
Skyrim.
I was gonna say we've released Skyrim for like the last 11 years.
I mean, Grand Theft Auto 6 was just announced, officially announced. So we all knew they were making it, but it was just official. Okay. I'm really excited for this next one. This is an Xbox timed exclusive, I think. I don't think it's gonna be fully exclusive, but it's Tunic. I don't know if you've seen Tunic, but it's this like really cutesy art style that is in the and the game style is in like the older Zeldas, or if you've played Death's Door. I don't know if you've heard of Death's Door. Somewhat something similar to that. I'm really excited for it, and yeah, should be a lot of fun. People love Persona, so Persona 4 Arena Ultimax comes to PlayStation 4, Switch, PC on March 17th. Rune Factory 5 comes to Switch on March 22nd. I know a lot of people love that series as well. A new game coming out called Ghostwire Tokyo comes out for the PlayStation 5 specifically and PC March 25th. That is a Bethesda game made by Tango Gameworks, the creators of Evil Within. So I believe that it should come to Xbox at some point and more than likely Game Pass. So if you don't have a PlayStation 5 but have an Xbox and want to wait, it'll probably be there eventually. Kirby and the Forgotten Land comes to Switch on March 25th. Did anybody see the recent trailer for this?
I have not.
Kirby swallows a car and becomes a car, and it's the weirdest thing. Everybody's calling it Kirby. It's so weird, but it looks super fun. It's Kirby's like first 3D outing. And it's in the vein of like Mario, Super Mario Odyssey. So yeah. People who are fans of Borderlands, Tiny Tina's Wonderlands comes out for all the things except Switch on March 25th. A PC release that has already been out, but is coming to consoles, Crusader Kings 3 comes to the new gen consoles on March 29th. And that's it. Well, maybe because we're a movie podcast, maybe I'll mention this. Starship Troopers Terran Command comes to PC March 31st. Probably a real-time strategy game, I'm assuming. Have fun with that. That's video games.
Nice. Say that's a interesting list. There's I don't know that any of them really quite jump out at me, but I know Ark has been enjoying the Persona games. Are you looking at the Strikers? Do you enjoy those as well?
So I haven't played it. I do have because it was one of the free games on PlayStation, so I actually grabbed it. But I'm trying to actually finish Persona 4 at some point because apparently it takes place after that, and so I didn't want to spoil it if I can. If I can't, if I don't finish it in the next couple months, which it's a decent possibility, I may just read the story, because I've been told that Strikers is actually a version of the game that I already mentioned that I love. It's Dynasty Warriors. I've played Dynasty Warriors in the past, and it's supposedly that style of game. And I'm like, oh, that sounds really, really cool. So take two of my favorite types of games and mush them together.
Nice. Dynasty Warriors. Or are you familiar with your square button?
They did just announce a Fire Emblem Dynasty Warriors.
Nice.
A sequel. Fire Emblem 3 Hopes. Hopes is what it's called. So
nice.
All right, so I'll go right into, I'll talk about video games in my section of what have we been up to lately. So my Xbox One decided the drive didn't want to work anymore.
Oh no.
So I went out bought an Xbox X.
I'm gonna pour one out.
So I got an Xbox X to use it
The
to be
Series X or the One X?
Series X.
Oh, you got the nice.
Yeah,
It's very nice.
it was expensive but nice. Yes.
Yeah, it's very nice.
But I've been using that to play Minecraft and Assassin's Creed. So
How advanced hardware can we get and run Minecraft?
Hey man, Minecraft has HDR now and like ray tracing. I mean, come
No,
on.
I understand. I bought an Alienware computer and I'm playing Minecraft. I get it. Like I'm there with you.
Yeah, but
So-
but we could do it on console now. Don't get me on your PC Master Race.
I have started to read. I read 4th of July by James Patterson. It's the 4th book in the women's murder mystery club. It was weird because it didn't know if it wanted to be a court procedural or a mystery novel. So I walked away not sure what it wanted to be. And I've started to read Crystal Veil from R.A. Salvatore. And I
Really?
watched, you gave the book to
Really?
me.
That's right, I did.
And I watched 127 Hours, the movie about the guy caught in the Moab, the real true story where he gets his arm caught under a rock and has to survive and get himself out of that predicament.
The one with James Franco, right?
Yes, sure. But just to go into the movie a little bit though, it's a guy trapped by a rock for the bulk of the movie, and to be able to carry a movie in that environment with a guy and a rock there's challenges there, and him and
Yeah, for the Rock.
I was gonna say, is the Rock the antagonist? Do we not identify with the Rock and we don't like the Rock?
We smell what the Rock is cooking.
and Danny Boyle directing it. They actually directed it exactly where it happened. So
What is the Rock's motivation? Sorry.
he actually says it. He actually talks about it in the movie that that Rock has been on a crash course.
Are we talking about Dwayne Johnson now, or are we
No,
talking about
we're
this
literally
We're
physical-
talking
about
about the
Rock.
physical Rock.
No,
It spent millions of years waiting for him to come by so that it could fall and trap his arm. I mean, he actually even says that in the movie. So
it was James Franco.
I thought
so
it was a really good movie. So can make fun of it all you want. I was
Oh no,
entertained.
we can enjoy the movie, but we can still laugh at the premise.
No,
It
you
is.
can't enjoy the movie.
You're laughing at the premise when it's a true story.
I know.
It's kind of weird and mean.
And
The guy lost his arm. Damn it! He now has a claw for an arm, and you're making fun of him.
Well, yeah, he got upgraded.
All right, I'm ahead.
I'm sorry. Now I'm just picturing like Captain Hook, and every time he sees a rock, he starts freaking out. I'm sorry. Sorry. I'm better.
All right, whoever's up next can go
Okay,
I'm done. with Sean.
All of you. I'm done with all of you.
Okay. As far as movies, we've actually, my fiance and I have been watching Mystery Science Theater 3000 and a little bit of Svengoolie as well, which we're kind of in the middle of one right now, and excited to get back to, because of course nothing quite better than someone making fun of an old movie that wasn't very good in the first place. Just finished up The Necropolis Empire by Tim Pratt, which is book 2 in the Twilight Imperium trilogy, which again at the end found out it was a trilogy. That book coming out in July, so waiting on that. Also been reading some rule books and everything. And in fact, we just got the Iron Kingdom's Requiem Kickstarter came out, which makes some good reading. Makes some good reading there. Unfortunately, the gentleman below me here, Eric Anderson, got his copy and it was falling apart. So, but they were nice enough to replace that. So, as far as video games, not too much exciting here. Still doing the StarCraft, doing some Deep Rock Galactic, and some Sentinels of the Multiverse.
And making fun of people who lost their arm.
Oh, geez. All right, now I got to apologize. I am sorry.
Listen, my favorite movie of all time has someone lose their arm. Pretty much every movie, and that's just the Star Wars series. I'm just saying. I empathize, okay? It's just losing arms and limbs has lost something for me, okay? That's what I'm saying. As far as myself, I haven't watched a lot in the way of movies recently. I'm kind of in a bit of a change with my life at the moment. Getting a new job. I'm newly engaged, so lots of things going on.
Congratulations!
Woo!
Appreciate it. Game wise though, playing Deep Rock Galactic. I'm still playing Destiny. I'm very excited. This week is the new Destiny expansion coming out, so I'm gonna be very excited to play some of that. And yeah, just trying to keep life a little sane and get ready. As far as reading, I'm actually studying for my next job already, so you know how it goes.
That's some interesting reading.
Yeah, taking exams, lots of fun.
I have only really been playing video games in my spare time. So haven't been watching much recently. I watched Speed recently, and that was awesome. But whoa. So I've been on a game like tear of trying to like finish some games. So I played Halo Infinite, the campaign, and it was amazing. Loved every second of it. I then went into a game called Inscription, which is a deck builder, and then turns into a collectible card game, and then turns back into a deck builder. And it's a murder mystery, and it's really awesome. It's on Steam. Play it. It's amazing. It's one of my favorite games that I've played recently. So, and then after that, I went into Psychonauts, the original, to finish that up. Because I was only about 2 hours away, so I went in to finish that. Funny story about Psychonauts: I ran into a glitch that has literally been in the game since 2005.
Oh, nice.
When it came out, where the last mission you need this little gadget called the cobweb duster, and when you get to the last mission, you you just randomly don't have the cobweb duster, and you need the cobweb duster. And so I had to go back to an original save. I had to rebuy the cobweb duster, so I had to collect 800 coins, and then go back, save, make sure I had the cobweb duster, save with the cobweb duster, and then yeah, it was just, I can't believe that. I mean, I can believe it. It's a 2005 game. You can't really patch those, but seriously, in this day and age. Then from Psychonauts, I started Outer Worlds. Or no, not Outer Worlds. Sorry, Outer Wilds. Outer Wilds, it's amazing. I love it so far. You got to get past the flying mechanics. Once you get past the flying mechanics, like it's a pretty amazing adventure. So definitely check that out. And then finally I just beat Pokemon Sword. So
Nice.
yeah.
Nice.
My buddy in California wanted to play Pokemon Sword, so I was like, hey, I'm like 2 hours away from beating it. And so I beat it. I was not 2 hours away from beating it. I was more like 6. So I beat it in the last 2 or 3 days. So yeah.
Very nice. I almost forgot, but I had a story that I wanted to share with you guys here. So
Hold up.
Uh-oh.
It's not going to make your fiance mad.
No, good call.
Okay.
This time.
This time.
Does it involve arms
No.
of any sort?
and detaching.
No. So one of my child's friends evidently listens to a fair amount of podcasts, and came up to my child and was like, "Hey, do you know that your dad is in a podcast?" She's like, "Yes." Evidently, without any urging or guiding or any hand there, she's been listening to us for quite some time. So, hi, Carly. Hi.
Way to embarrass your child.
That's not my child.
No, just I mean, but it's your child's friend.
That's true. But yeah. So, Carly,
He's-
thanks for listening.
He's a father. That is his job in life.
That's my
is to-
right. Damn
It,
it.
it is in the contract. I
That's
have
right.
reread the contract to my son. He does not believe me.
Alrighty.
Well, thank you for tuning in to the nutgallery.com podcast.
Good night, everybody.
Adios.
Good night.